Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alexei, and today I'm going to tell you about the industrial relations in BRICS nations. First of all, I would like to start with the abstract of my work. This paper is about BRICS countries, how they perform on the world arena. Also, I'm going to cover their industrial relations, and I will tell about some similarities and differences between BRICS countries, their relations, and their future. Let's start with the definition of BRICS. BRICS is a group of 5 emerging countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries have 25% of all land, and their population is almost the half of the earth. Their combined GDP is about $15.5 trillion, and despite the Ukraine crisis, they're basically the fast growing countries and move forward. Before 2011, the name of the organization was BRIC. And only after the request of the Indian finance minister to add South Africa as a member, it happened in December 2010, the group began to bear the name of BRICS. In recent years, BRICS countries showed a good growth at 3.8%, which is higher than the same figures in the leading European countries, for example, France and Germany. In my opinion, there are several reasons for this. First, cheap labor, and second, relatively small social spendings that contributes the export of domestic products. Furthermore, a significant advantage of these countries, especially Russia, is huge reserves of natural resources, what allows to export it and to meet their needs. I think that these countries have the primitive position mostly because of the large number of important resources for the global economy. For example, Brazil is rich in the agricultural products, Russia in mineral resources, India got pretty cheap intellectual resources, China is a powerful industrial base, and South Africa rich in natural resources. However, despite the relatively high rate of economic development, BRICS countries have some problems which do not allow them to release the full economic potential of their economies. The first problem is the stagnation of markets of these countries, and the second, the decrease in Western investment because of difficult economic situation in the United States and European Union. Also, the leaders of China said that the Chinese economy is overheating. So to summarize all the information about BRICS, I can point out 6 main similar issues of their economies. First one, that they are resource-based economies. Second one, they got semi-democracy. Third, soft currency, strong influence of the state, transition economies, and relatively cheap labor. Now I would like to cover some differences in BRICS countries. In 2010, Big Five began to lose the main thing: extremely high dynamics of the national economic development. Rapid GDP growth has slowed as a result of global financial and economic development. And also there were a big result of the economic crisis of 2008-2009. And also because of the significant problem of each individual country. In July 2014, during the summit in Brazil, the leaders met and pointed out some stagnation. India is still a developing country. China is poised to become a great industrial power. Russia is still using natural resources as the main asset, and Russia has economic problems because of the Ukraine crisis. Now I would like to stop on the industrial relations of these countries. Scientists and politicians in many countries call BRICS a new force that's capable to find a consolidated approach to solve the most important problems of global development. Today, the side effect of sanctions against Russia is that Russia started to develop a strategic partnership with BRICS members more actively. BRICS shows the entire new level of bilateral trade agreements and the elaboration of new industrial, scientific, and social projects. The European Union and the United States remain key trading partners for the BRICS countries, although their importance decreased with the time. In 2012, the volume of the trade among the BRICS countries was just over 10%. And today, according to Russian president, he announced that over the 5 past years, the trade among BRICS countries increased by 2 times. And now it is about 20% of all world trade. Now I'd like to tell about the prospects of the development in international trade relations between these countries. As already told before, BRICS has a great potential which may become the dominant economic system. But now BRICS group is only in its beginning. There is no full-fledged partnership between the countries. That's why the prospects of this group is political and economical community are contradictory. First group think that that this is the beginning of a new world order. Second think that it is a symbolically artificial formation. Third group, a group of countries that can resist the United States. And fourth group, that this is the union serving only to China. At the same time, there are some strong arguments against long-term developments of the BRICS. BRICS countries don't have a common history and they belong to a different civilization. They do not share common long-term interests. They united only criterion for accelerated economic growth, which cannot be considered sustainable. The difference in the levels of economic, social, scientific, and educational development of the BRICS countries is too great. Taking into consideration the large difference between the BRICS countries, it is difficult to expect that they will be able to come up with a unified and coordinated position tomorrow. But to achieve the unity, countries have to prevent sharp contradiction and different vectors of movement. There are 2 ways of development. To be outside the zone of the golden billion in a condition of globalization, or to agree with the United States to create a unipolar world. BRICS chose to be outside because the economy of these countries has a great potential. In spite of the difference In the level of development, BRICS is becoming a new platform for a discussion of a variety of problems: financial, scientific, technological, cultural, and political. I think that all BRICS countries have a political ambition and a desire to transform the growing economic power into the geopolitical influence. On the last summit, all countries signed an agreement on the establishment of new developed bank and the agreement on the establishment of a pool of foreign exchange reserves. It was reported that the bank might start the work in 2015-2016. Also, it is possible that the non-union countries will be allowed to join the new development bank. In conclusion, I would like to say that Western leaders could no longer ignore the growing every year power and authority of the new associations. And the BRICS countries should be included in the process of fomenting of a global economic policy. It is a shame that today they do not have, they are not a part actually of the group of seven and don't have representative in the boards of IMF and World Bank. But also I want to add that the future strengthening of the BRICS depends on three incentives. First, it is the political intention. BRICS cooperation mechanism is a new political force what is relieved political impulses to collective voice. Second, it is trade and economic mutual benefit. Five BRICS countries intend to strengthen internal trade and economic ties. Third, it is the global ordering. Since the beginning of the financial crisis, on topics such as the development or modification of internal rules, the fights against climate warming and etc., the developing countries, in particular the BRICS countries, deserve a greater voice. As for me, I think that if BRICS organization will not pay proper attention and could not perform well on these three incentives, they will always be on the backside in the economic and political issues in the world's arena. So, thank you for your attention. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. And it was a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much. Bye.